Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. I'll give a few minutes and see if I can tag some people. I'm streaming live in my Powerful Potential Facebook group, and you also might be seeing me on other platforms such as YouTube. Okay, good. Awesome. Okay, so I have this open so I can see people's comments coming in, and let me just go ahead and tag a few people. Okay, awesome. Okay, good. I see people are joining. Beautiful. So do me a favor if you are tuning in from Facebook. Okay, good. I see two people here, but I do need you to do one thing. There is a link up in the top of the StreamYard that says, please click here to allow StreamYard to access your profile. That way I can see who's commenting. Because right now I see it saying Facebook user. I see it saying Facebook user, so I don't know your name. And I would love to know your name. Obviously, if you're inside my Facebook group, I probably know you. You probably know me. So I'd love to know a little bit more personal level. So please do that for me. And there is about a 90-second delay. It's kind of a bummer, but there is a delay. So do know I will be asking questions. I will be asking for responses. But I know on my end, there's like a 90-second delay for me to see your comment and then to be able to respond to the comment. Okay, awesome. All right, Trisina says done. Okay, I can see you. Awesome. And then it looks like the other person is Julie. So welcome, Julie, but go ahead and click that for me so that I can see when you start commenting. All right, so let me just set aside about, let's say 45 minutes for today's training. So those of you who are joining me inside my Powerful Potential Facebook group, hello, welcome. I also am streaming this live to YouTube. So if you don't know me already, YouTube family, and also on my Facebook page, my name is Cami Kennedy, and I am an intuitive life coach for perfectionists. And I was at a networking group yesterday, and sometimes people get thrown off by the term life coach and they just don't know what it means. So I'm going to give you a couple things so you can understand what life coaching is and then the style and the way that I do it. So life coaching is essentially having someone that you work with weekly or on a regular basis that helps you and supports you to achieve your goals by getting clarity on where it is you want to go, getting really clear on your vision, getting really clear on what's blocking you, what's holding you back, and then having that accountability and support weekly so that you start showing up and practicing your potential. The reason I work mostly with perfectionists and high achievers is because that's who I was. And those are the things that I struggled with in terms of being really critical of myself, having really high expectations for myself, never feeling like I was doing enough, never feeling good enough. And from that insecurity and low self-worth, it put me in a place of being in jobs that I didn't like, in relationships that weren't in the best alignment for me, and continuing to make decisions with money, relationships, jobs, with everything, with my fitness, continuing to make these decisions that would reaffirm that I was less than. So the reason I work with people who were like me is because I know exactly how to work with you to get you through that process of overwhelm and being highly judgmental and self-critical into that place of feeling grounded and confident and loving yourself and being able to voice the things that you need and desire and feeling okay with taking time for your own self-care and putting yourself as a priority in your life, because then you can do more, you can be more, and you can give more from that place. So that's just a short kind of iteration of what I do. And then the intuitive piece of what I do is I intuitively coach you. So that means I'm present with you just like I am now. I trust myself and my guidance that whatever comes through is going to be for you in that moment. And you'll notice you'll start to have synchronicities in your life. You will start to trust yourself and your guidance even more. And so I do believe in a spiritual component and an energetic component to getting what you desire. It's not just about hustling and taking action. It is about being in alignment with the highest version of yourself and being in allowance of all parts of you. The good, the bad, the ugly, the things that you've been through, right? We talked about your past a couple weeks ago, integrating your past into what you're creating in the future. Okay, let me check the comments really quick. Okay, Sarah is here. Good morning. Great. I'm glad you're here, Sarah. And she says, love your earrings. I want some. Thank you, Sarah. So I'll give a little plug for these. If you go to the website Designed for Joy, they are based out of Raleigh, North Carolina, and they actually give women in transition a job. So these women will make these earrings, handbags, home decor, and it gives them a job and an opportunity. So they may be coming out of jail, prison. Mostly other people wouldn't hire them. So it gives them a job, an opportunity to feed themselves and their families, come in off the streets, and then ultimately to move on to a better job. So it is shopping for a cause. I love them. I support them. I've gone on several mission trips with them. They're phenomenal. So if you are aligned with their vision, go ahead and support them by purchasing some. Okay, so we will be here for about 45 minutes. I would advise you to get a notebook because this will be something practical that I would like you to jot down with me. And what I'm teaching today is this process I call belief mapping. And I teach belief mapping in my certification. So I coach other coaches and I certify other coaches. And I also coach regular human beings who are not coaches one-on-one. So if you ever have a desire to work with me more, reach out to me. We can book a consult and we can talk about working together. But this belief mapping process is essential for priming what you want to happen and occur in your day. So I want to talk about this word priming and what priming is. And I learned this from Tony Robbins. I'm sure you're familiar with Tony Robbins. He's one of the biggest coaches out there in the industry. And he talks about this process of priming. And there's actually a study that they've done where I actually have a cup of coffee over here, but I want you to imagine this is coffee. They hired some actors to essentially walk by some people, hand them a cup of coffee, and then go into a door, right? Go into a door, ask the people to hold the cup of coffee for them, and then come back out, right? So it's just very basic. They come in, ask them to hold their coffee because they can't take their coffee in. They do whatever, and then they come out quickly, okay? Now, the people on the street where they were handing their coffee to were just normal, average people. And the study was done to find out, did this priming experience, did this act of handing them a cup of coffee have an effect on their judgments of the people? So what I didn't tell you was they either handed them a cold cup of coffee or they handed them a warm cup of coffee. And at the end of the study, they found out the people, they asked them, what did you think of this person, right? What did you think of this person based on that little interaction of them handing the coffee and going in and coming back? And they found out that people that handed them a cold cup of coffee were perceived as more negative. They were perceived as more cold. The people who handed them a warm cup of coffee were perceived to have a warm and inviting personality. So I want you to understand that had they just walked past the person in the street, had they not had that experience of the warm or the cold coffee, they wouldn't have been primed to make a judgment about that person one way or the other. In fact, they may have been quite neutral about that person. So the reason this is important is because every single day, we are unconsciously priming ourselves for what's about to happen that day. So I want you to think about, what's the first thing you think about when you wake up? Do you wake up to your kids screaming at you? Do you wake up to the alarm clock and you're dreading going to work? That first thought that you have in the day is priming the rest of your day for how it's going to go. And believe me, I know how this feels because I worked in jobs that I didn't like for years and years and years. And before I knew anything about mindset, before I knew anything about morning routine and this belief mapping that process that I created, I would wake up with a negative thought and I would think, oh, another day. I am going to hate work. Oh, I'm already going to hate so-and-so. They're going to annoy me today. And that's how my day went. And then that's how my weeks went, my months went, and that's how my life was. Because every day I primed it for the negative and the bad. And I got what I expected. I got what I primed because that was my perception. So today I'm going to teach you a process to prime your day with the way you want to feel, think, and believe. Because when you prime your day in this way, you already set out with an expectation of something different. And when you set out with an expectation of something different, your brain, the reticular activating system, the RAS, looks for evidence of whatever you've primed it for. So if you prime it for the negative, you are going to find the negative. If you prime it for positive expectation, you are going to find and step into positive circumstances because that's what you're looking for. Okay? All right. Okay, Sarah says, I love it. Thank you for explaining your coaching process. So helpful to hear how you work. You're welcome, Sarah. Absolutely. Okay, so let me know that you guys are still with me. Give me a yes if you're ready to dive into the belief mapping process. And let me know that you've got a notebook ready for you because I do have some notes back here, but it will be helpful for you to jot down these notes for yourself too. Take a sip of water. And I'm just going to check the Facebook group too, because sometimes comments are lagging. Okay, cool. Julie says yes. Yes. Justina says yes, ready. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Okay. Let me see. I see one more comment coming in. Sarah is ready. Perfect. All right. So I want you to think of in this very moment, and you can type it in the comments if you want, or you can reflect upon how you've been feeling today up until this moment. But actually start with the question of asking yourself, how am I feeling right now? What is the emotion that I'm experiencing? Either right now in this moment or previous in this day, or if you want to type in the chat, what emotion you feel often. So if it's a negative emotion that is not serving you, I want you to type that in the chat and we're going to work through that. I'm going to use my example because I think it'll serve everyone, but I want you to type in the chat emotions that you spend a lot of time in, whether that's fear, anxiety, self-doubt, maybe unmotivated. And you can type those in the chat and we'll work through those later on. But the first part of this in the belief mapping process is asking yourself, how am I feeling? And what's interesting is if you can't figure out how you're feeling, there's a couple good ways to do this. Ask yourself, what am I doing or not doing? So if you're like, I don't know how I'm feeling, I'm not feeling good, I'm just feeling blah, and maybe you're trying to figure out what that feels like, you can go, okay, well, what am I doing right now? Well, what I'm doing is scrolling endlessly on Facebook and I'm procrastinating. And so I must be feeling overwhelmed, right? So you can kind of backtrack into what you're feeling if you're having a problem with it. Another thing you can do is ask yourself how it feels in your body. So you may just be like, I feel sluggish. I feel tired, right? I feel like heavy in my chest, or I feel maybe a little nauseous or sick, or you can tune into what you're feeling in your body. Okay. Because some people, I was one of them, the only emotion I could understand was anger. But usually anger was overlying some other emotions, such as disappointment in myself, self-judgment, maybe some sadness, feeling alone. But I was masking that with one of those broad emotions, such as anger. So the first thing is getting clear on the emotion that you're feeling. Then we're going to take into the next step. Okay, yep. Justina says tired, overwhelmed, heavy. Yeah, this is good. And we'll use these, Tristina, when we get to the second part of this. But the first part is exhaustion an emotion? Yes, it is, Sarah. It is, because what I'm going to show you is our emotions are fueled by our thoughts. So if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling heavy, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it is a result of the thoughts that you are thinking. Because did you ever notice you can actually have an entire day where you don't really do anything, but you still feel tired, exhausted, because your mind is going on a whirlwind and you're thinking all these anxious thoughts and you're thinking all these negative thoughts, and they're ending up leaving you exhausted and drained. Okay. So I'm going to go through this process. And I think I know by going through this process, you're going to understand how your emotions are created by the thoughts that you're thinking. Okay. So the one that I'm using here today is fear. So if you're writing this out, I want you to draw a big circle in the middle of your paper. So if you have a notebook paper, start with a big circle. I only did a half circle on here because I wanted to fit everything on here. You're going to write your emotion in the middle of that big circle. And for this example, you can work with me and use the fear example, and then we'll work through some of the emotions. I like this tired, exhausted. We'll probably work through that one since I see a couple people in the comments with it. So first thing over on the side here, or in the middle of your page, I wrote fear. Okay. And this comes up a lot for my clients, a lot. So I wanted to use this one because I think it's really relevant. And this is our ego. This is the part of us that wants to keep us safe. So we are always going to come up against fear. And that's okay. But I want you to see what happens. Once you see that, or once you sense that you're feeling fear, you can then ask, what is it that I'm actually thinking that's creating this fear in me? So I put a couple of these thoughts down. Fear, it's not working. I'm not good enough. What are people going to think? It's not going to work out. I'm going to lose. I can never do enough. I don't know enough. So these are some thoughts that lead to the feeling of fear. So when you're thinking it's not working, my finances aren't working, we're thinking my workouts aren't working, we're thinking my relationship isn't working, it's coming from a place of fear that I'm going to lose it, right? I'm going to lose out on this thing that I want, or I'm not going to ever achieve the thing that I want. And that's why I'm feeling fear. Okay. So now that we've got our emotion and we've investigated what are the thoughts that I'm actually thinking, because awareness is key. Most of us, most of the humans in the world are walking around thinking the same limiting beliefs over and over and over again until they become habitual, until they become automatic, until they become a pattern, until they become so identified with the thought that they think it's truth. But I want you to see here, we're going to flip this board over in a second. I'm going to show you how you can have the same circumstances, you can have the same uncertainty, the same unknowing, and you can choose to think different thoughts that will create a different emotion. Okay? But why are thoughts and emotions, why do they matter? The reason they matter is because when we think our thoughts that cause us to feel an emotion, that leads us into an action or an inaction, right? So we talked about earlier, maybe you're scrolling on Facebook, right? If you're feeling fear, you don't want to do the thing, you may be led into the action of scrolling on Facebook and wasting time, right? Because you're feeling like you don't know what to do, you're feeling overwhelmed, you don't know where to start, all coming from this place of fear. So these are the results that you get from not doing things or from not taking any action because of the fear. So the results are I don't do anything. Maybe I don't say anything because I'm afraid of losing something in this relationship. So I don't say my boundaries, or I don't talk about what I want, or I don't ask for the raise. The result is nothing changes. I'm still uncomfortable because my circumstances are the same, because I'm not doing anything because I'm afraid. And my worst fear actually ends up being real because it's not going to work out if I don't take any action. And then I repeat the cycle. Okay. So I'm going to put this up here. And I'm going to check in to see if this is making sense with you guys. Let me know if you have any questions before I go into step 2. Yeah, Julie says yes, fear. Yeah, that's why I chose fear, because it's very common for everyone. So let me recap this. And if you have questions, put them in the chat. Starting off with how you feel, tuning in on the emotion, fear, asking yourself, what am I thinking that's causing the fear? And then moving into, what results do I get from thinking this way? So what I want you to understand is your thoughts create your results, because in the middle, in between the thoughts and the results, is an action or an inaction that's creating your life and creating your reality. Okay? Okay, cool. Christina says, with you. Sarah says, well, phone ringing, be back. Okay, we'll see you in a minute, Sarah. All right. So now let me ask the question this. If you are feeling fear, you're afraid to have the conversation, you're afraid of the unknown, you're afraid it's not going to work out, you're afraid there's not going to be enough money, you're afraid that so-and-so is going to judge you, I want you to start thinking, what feeling would you actually need to be in order to take action? So I want to see if you guys can get this before I give it to you. If you're feeling fear and you're not taking action because you're afraid of judgment or it not working out or there not being enough or you not being enough, and the result is you stay stuck where you are, you're not getting any results, nothing's changing, what emotion would be beneficial for you to be in order for you to take aligned action, in order for you to step up, in order for you to do the next thing? Type it in the chat. I'm going to take a sip of water. And I know there's a 90-minute delay or 90-second delay. I'm just going to refresh the page really quickly to see if I can see the comments coming in. Okay, I'm going to move forward because the comments are delayed pretty much. So I'll see them when they come in. And this is sometimes, there we go. Shasina's got it. Awesome. Confidence. Perfect. You can tell she's a student. She's a great student. Good. So on the flip side, this is the other side where we're going to start getting intentional with our belief mapping. Okay. So on the flip side, we're going to write confident. So if you're doing this along with me and you're taking notes, you can take notes, or you can use this for yourself. Maybe the first one that you put was tired, overwhelmed. And then on the second sheet, you say, okay, what would be the opposite of tired or overwhelmed? What would I need to feel? What emotion would I need to feel into in order to move forward? And so if the opposite of tired might be energized. The opposite of overwhelmed, maybe clarity. Okay. So I want you to start to see how we can shift these as we move into this as we move into this belief mapping. Okay. So we're going to go with the opposite of fear is confidence. So if I wanted to create the feeling of confidence or groundedness in myself, and the reason I say this is because sometimes if you've been feeling not confident, insecure, people-pleasing tendencies for quite a long time, this feeling of confidence may feel distant for you. But everyone can come into a place of groundedness and of, okay, this is what I do know. You can come into a place of knowledge. You can come into a place of wisdom. So choose what word feels best for you, because sometimes you already may have a judgment that you can't be confident. Okay. So you may say acting confident. If I was acting confident, what would be the thoughts that I would be thinking if I was acting confident? Okay, and I put a couple of thoughts down. This is what I do know. So getting clear, okay, this is the one or two thing I do know. This is the one small step I can take. I know what makes me feel good. I have the ability to communicate. Things have always worked out for me eventually. I know enough to get started. Taking one small step will make me feel better. This is just practice. I can't mess it up. Okay. All right, let me check these. All right. Hello. Okay, cool. I see some people that are joining from YouTube. Hello. Yes. Christina says it feels false sometimes. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. We can do the whole fake it till you make it, right? But that doesn't really work if it feels out of alignment. So choose a word or choose an emotion that feels authentic to you. So confidence may not be the word for you. Grounded may be the word for you. Wisdom, knowledge, feeling willing. Those might be some better. Okay. All right, so now that we did, these are the thoughts that would help me feel confident. Then we go into, okay, if I was just acting like a confident person, or if I was acting from my wisdom and from my one small step, or if I was acting from this place of simplicity or even discipline, or there's an emotion, one of my clients is, she calls it visionary. If I'm really connected to my vision, I'm acting from this energy of being a visionary, I would just choose to move forward. I would just choose to take one step because that's what visionaries do. Okay, so choose a word that feels good to you. Now check out the results that you get from your actions related to the thoughts that you're choosing to think. This is what happens. When I choose to believe, I can just take one small step, I can practice, then I just take one simple step. I take one step, I knock one thing off of the to-do list. I break it down into one thing I can do each day. That would also help with overwhelm. I practice practicing. So that way you remove this heaviness of perfectionism and you just practice practicing and you just show up. And you just say, this is part of it. I get better each day and I make progress towards my goal. And this is a positive feedback loop because when you start to take action and you start to get these little wins and these 1% shifts, you build trust with yourself and you begin to build your confidence muscle because you're following through on what you've said you were going to do. So taking action is what builds the confidence. Succumbing to fear is what keeps you in fear. Okay, a couple other things. I know exactly what to do. So you end up with clarity and you know exactly the next step to take. I make big things small. So you might take something like doing laundry. That's probably not a good example because you don't have fear of that, but something that feels big, like a big project, like writing a book or starting your blog. You just do the next step and you make the big thing of starting the blog and figuring it out just the next thing, which is, okay, I'm going to take one step, which is buying the domain. I'm going to take the next step, which is getting the template. I'm going to make the next step, which may be watching a YouTube video on how to start my blog, right? So you can make big things small. And then you're going to move forward in action. You're going to have the conversation. You're going to go on Facebook Live or Instagram Live, whatever it is that you do for your business or connecting with clients or your customers. You're going to ask for what you want because you're choosing to use your voice. You're going to show up and be seen and heard. You're going to make the call. You're going to send the email. You're going to ask for the raise because you've cultivated the feeling of confidence through your thoughts. And you've done this before you go and do the live, before you ask for what you want, before you ask for the raise. So when you prime yourself before you take the actions, you're in the energy of confidence, you're in the energy of practicing, you're in the energy of everything does work out for me eventually, and even the failures and the mishaps are part of the process. And then you step into taking the action that is aligned with what it is that you want. Yes, juicy. Justina says juicy. I love it. Okay, so tell me what's coming up for you. Does this make sense? And I'm going to do another example, and I'll probably use overwhelmed because I think a lot of people get stuck in overwhelm. And then we'll turn that overwhelm into clarity. And I want you to play along with me and start to think of the thoughts that you're thinking that cause overwhelm. So let's start there. Type in the chat. What thoughts would I need to think in order to feel overwhelmed? And you're already doing it. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you're already thinking those thoughts. So overwhelmed comes from, I have so many things to do. I don't know where to start. There's so many different options or directions to go in. I feel like I need help. I don't know if I can do it alone. There's not enough time of the day. There's not enough money. Those are some thoughts that lead to overwhelm. Type in the chat. Let me know what other thoughts lead to overwhelm for you. And then what we'll do is we'll talk about, okay, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, what results do I get? Well, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I don't even know where to start, so I don't start and I procrastinate. When I'm feeling overwhelmed, I look for other things to distract me that are easier. So I might scroll on social media. I might watch Netflix. I might do the laundry or something that has nothing to do with the things that I actually need to get done. I might call a friend. I might binge eat. I might do anything but the things that are on my list because I'm overwhelmed, right? Or I might just stay stuck and in action because I'm so overwhelmed, I don't even know what to do. And a lot of times when I'm overwhelmed, I'm not working out, I'm not eating well. So you're seeing all of the actions that are adding to the overwhelm. Yeah, Lucy says, spending too much time on what the outcome will be gives you overwhelm. Yeah. Sometimes the looking at the outcome and being like, oh my gosh, like if I'm building a house and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so much to build a house. There's so many things that go into it. And I just had a former client, she did a custom built house. And it's a lot, right? It's a lot because there's a lot of choices. But the way she got through it was she focused on, okay, what type of doors are we going to get? Let me choose the doors. Great. Now, what type of door handles are we going to get? Great. Let's choose those. Now, what type of cabinets are we going to do in the kitchen? Black or white? White. Okay. Now, what type of style white cabinets do we want? Modern or farmhouse? That's how you break down the overwhelm, right? Okay. So what's the opposite of overwhelm? What emotion do you think is opposite of overwhelm that would get you into action that would help you to get the result that you want? I'm just going to say a few, and you can choose what resonates with you. But clarity is what comes to mind. I'm feeling clear-minded. I'm feeling focused. I'm feeling driven. I'm feeling motivated. I'm feeling at ease. I feel like I can breathe. And that may not be an emotion, but that may make sense to you. Like, okay, if I could feel like I could breathe, what would I be thinking that would cause me to feel that way? Yeah. Justina says grounded. Yeah. Just like grounded in the energy of what needs to come next. So choose whatever emotion that you align with. And then let's talk about what thoughts would lead to that. And I'm resonating with, I feel like I could breathe. Okay. Because overwhelm is like this tightness, kind of like I'm literally thinking of drowning, of what it would feel like to be overwhelmed, kind of panicky, like there's so much that's all going on around me. I'm in the ocean or I'm in the water and I feel panicky, like I can't swim, I can't make it. But if I felt like I could breathe, if I felt like I was strong, if I felt like I could make it, what would I be thinking? I say, well, I would feel like I had time and space for myself. So I would feel like I'm going to take a walk. If I felt like I had time to take a walk, that would help me feel less overwhelmed. Okay. If I felt like I have the resources, I am resourceful. If I felt like I can ask for help, if I thought things are always happening for me, things always show up for me when I need them, I'm clear on my priorities. I don't need to do everything in one day by myself. All of those thoughts start to lead to this feeling of release, of groundedness, if you want to use that, of, okay, I feel like I can breathe because now I've given myself permission to not have to do everything in one day. If I'm writing the book, I don't need to write the entire book in one day. I can take it paragraph by paragraph. I can take it topic by topic. And then I'm not overwhelmed. And I can simply say, a little bit each day is good enough. And then from that place, what results do you think you would get? Depending on your specific situation, what results do you think you would get? Coming from grounded energy, coming from clarity, coming from feeling like you could breathe. I think the things you would be doing were, I know exactly where I'm going. So let's imagine I'm in North Carolina. Let's imagine we're getting in a car together. We're driving to California across the country. We know where we're going. It can get overwhelming because it will take 3 to 4 days to get there. And then we've got to find hotels on the way and gas stations and places to eat. We want to make sure that we're going through the right towns. Maybe there's things we want to see on the way. So it can feel overwhelming, but we know where we're going. We're going to California. We know we're going to get there. So then we can go, okay, what is the easiest first step? Well, if I'm going from North Carolina, I'm going to have to drive west. Okay, I'm going to set my GPS to drive west. Great, I know where we're going. I'm going to pack the car. I'm going to make sure that I have warm clothes, cold clothes, make sure I have enough water. You can take one simple step each time when you're coming from a place of groundedness. When you tell yourself, everything I do each day is enough, then every day that you wake up, you're already starting with this place of groundedness instead of overwhelm. If you feel like you have a multitude of decisions to be made, a multitude of directions, and sometimes this happens when people have like multiple job offers, or maybe multiple people they could be dating, or multiple decisions to make on a purchase. First of all, that is a privilege and a blessing that we have all of these opportunities. So starting to think, I am grateful for this multitude of opportunities, and I trust myself to choose in alignment with my highest good. I trust that all decisions will work out for me in the end. So even if you choose the job, quote unquote, that doesn't end up being the right job in a few years, you realize it and you want to leave and go do something else, that was still meant for you. But in overwhelm makes you feel like there's only one choice. There's only one right way to do it. But in clarity, in groundedness, you are able to see and trust. There's a level of trust, there's a level of releasement, and there's a level of simplicity on this is the simple action that I'll take today. It's going to move me forward in alignment. And anything that I do today is good enough. Okay, good. Thank you, Trisina. She says, Cami, I adore you. Have to run. Great content, great human. Thank you for joining, Trisina. I'm glad you got to grab it. Okay, Julie says, the multitude of people who need my time, attention, and energy increases overwhelm. Yes, Julie, but guess what? There's a lesson in this because these circumstances come around you and will continue to come around you in all of us, right? I'm not just speaking for you specifically. I'm speaking for me. I'm speaking for my clients. I'm speaking for anybody in this group or watching a replay. When we have those things coming up for us, people are demanding my time. They're needing my attention. That is a sign that it is our opportunity to set a boundary, to get really clear with who gets our time, at what level, in what capacity. And then, am I overgiving in a situation? Am I people pleasing over here? Am I enabling someone over here? Or am I acting in a codependent manner in terms of I'm making their well-being my priority instead of my well-being my priority? And I know this is challenging when you have children because you feel like you're pulled in multiple directions. But the clients that I work with, we work on these structures that become very simple when we realize, well, I'm not asking for help. I'm not setting a boundary or limitation on this is the chores that need to be done by you. This is how we as a family can come together and ultimately spend more time together or ultimately connect in a better way. So the sign and signal about people demanding your attention and time is the universe, God, whatever you believe in, presenting you an opportunity to set a boundary. Because even if your circumstances change and maybe you're not at that job anymore and it's not taking up all your hours, there's going to be another opportunity, another time when everybody wants your attention, it's going to come up again. So this is why I say everything is always happening for you. There is a lesson in it for you. So one of the things you can do if there's people demanding your attention and time, what is your thought about this? I'm feeling overwhelmed because I feel like people are demanding my time. But if I wanted to feel sovereign over my own time, my own space, and my own energy, I would believe what? What would I think? I would think I get to decide who I give my time and energy to. I get to decide what my values are in my family, in my relationships, in my job, or in my career. And I get to decide how my energy flows throughout the day. I fill my cup first. I take self-care days. This is just a signal for you to develop an energy practice that allows you to either protect your energy, to retreat on a weekend or on a day or on an evening, and to ask for what you need so that you can continue to give to others. Check the comments here. Yes. Okay. So here's what I'm going to ask you guys to do as I finish this out, because I said we would be on here for about 45 minutes. If you are not yet inside of my Powerful Potential Facebook group, please join. It's a really great community for all genders. The only thing that I ask inside this community is that you're supportive and you are willing to show up and practice your potential. So that means you're stepping into the version of you that you want to be. It's a great community. It's safe. We are growing, but I'm keeping it very respectable. So if you feel like you're in alignment with that, please join the Facebook group so we can continue to have conversations. Another thing to know, if you're watching this live with me, on March 13th of 2021, I'm hosting a virtual vision board workshop, which is on Saturday at 10 a.m. New York time. So if you want some information on that, you can send me a direct message. Getting clear on your vision, where you want to go, how you want to feel is paramount. This is like step one. Then we can dig into the limiting beliefs and the things that may be holding you back. And we can do that through one-on-one coaching. I also coach all genders. I specifically help people on building their confidence, on building this self-acceptance, on the fullest expression of themselves, on really truly taking care of themselves and prioritizing you so that you can give to others. And so if you have interest in working one-on-one to see what that looks like, I invite you to get on a call with me. The calls are free. We do a 50-minute consultation. And during the consultation, you come away with clarity. So you may be interested in coaching and we can talk about that. But at the end of the day, I'm here to serve you and I'm here to get you clear on where you're going, number one, and then what you think your blocks are, and then what your real blocks are, and then how to start moving in the direction of getting what you want, whether that is coaching with me or whether that is something else. So I invite you to reach out to me for a free consultation where we can talk about what it's like to work together, but ultimately you are going to get what you came for. You are going to come away with clarity. So let me just check the comments another time here. Yes, so true. Asking for help is so hard for me. Yeah, Julie, and I kind of could tell that because anybody that's experiencing overwhelm, anybody is experiencing that there's so many people demanding their attention, usually there's a people-pleasing tendency, which is completely normal and it's completely curable. You're not alone. I was once a person who could not ask for help. A lot of my clients didn't feel okay asking for help. And one of the first things that helped them is to hire me as their coach, because that was them saying, I need help. And not only that, I deserve help. I deserve to get the support I need. And by doing that, that automatically, energetically puts you out of your comfort zone of saying, I deserve this support. And by me investing in myself and getting the support I need, I make my entire family relationship better because I'm no longer resentful. I'm no longer exhausted and tired and snapping at everyone. I'm no longer going to bed just like, what even happened today? And I'm so tired and exhausted, I never have time for myself. That is the magic of learning to have these boundaries that are loving and to learn the communication of how to communicate what you need and desire and still let people know that you love them, you care for them, and you still want what's best for them, but it should never be what's best for them at a detriment of what's best for you. There's a collaboration in relationship. And when you get really clear on your values, when you get really clear on the vision that you're creating, the harmony in relationships, maybe there's a work-life balance component, maybe building your business, starting the business. There is a harmony that comes from communication, that comes from fully accepting yourself, fully loving yourself so that you can give, serve, and love even more, but it feels easier because it feels in alignment. And we take out the overwhelm, we take out the judgment. So I'm so glad you continue to show up here, Julie. I love having you here. And everybody else who joined in live, it has been wonderful spending time with you. If you have any questions and you want to reach out to me, you can connect with me on my website, camikennedy.com/call, or you can always send me a direct message on Instagram at Cami Kennedy. Let me know if this was useful for you if you are watching the replay, and I will see you in a few weeks when I do another training. All right, bye everyone.